becoming undisputed is something that would be historic. What would it mean for your career?
Means a lot. I think this fight is for me one of my best fights because very few fighters complete this to be undisputed champion. So for me, it's very important for my history.
You had Caleb Plant in front of you. There was some bad blood. What impression are you left of Caleb?
No, he's insecure person because you can see in his body language he's an insecure person. But I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the fight and that's it.
I am so glad that he's speaking English now, especially since he's looked at as the face of boxing here in America as well, English-speaking country. I'm T-Street Controversy with FightView360.com. This weekend, right now, it's Tuesday, October the 29th, 9:49, October the 19th, 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The first episode of Canelo versus Plant All Access is going to be on the 22nd, this Friday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. If you don't know, All Access is a half-hour docudrama series that builds up fights. It's the best in boxing by far. Now, you may remember, for those who don't know, there was HBO 24/7. PBC has something called Fight Camp and Countdown. All Access is number one. So I'm guessing that All Access is going to go ahead and show the clips from the press conference and even some behind the scenes stuff, you know, that we didn't get to see at the press conference, you know, them following Canelo around and Caleb Plant. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not writing Caleb Plant off just yet. I don't feel that Caleb Plant can beat David Benavidez. I'm not saying that, you know, he can beat Canelo, but I am giving him a shot, especially since, you know, you don't know how fighters, you know, do when they have to rise to the occasion. So let's go back down memory lane. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe. Let's go back down to that press conference and recap that. And then we're going to talk about the undercard and more to expect from the episode. Also, after the episode, I'm going to be here doing a live recap with highlights of the episode.
Boxing's #1 star of the sport and the fighting pride of Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. Under the guidance of his trainer and manager, Eddie Reynoso, this 4-division world champion is the current unified WBA, WBC, and WBO super middleweight champion of the world, Saul Canelo Álvarez.
Got to turn it down so I don't get copyrighted for the music. But this was some shit right here. I ain't gonna lie. This definitely was some shit. And a lot of people, including myself, do feel that it did add some flair to the pay-per-view. But at the same time, in this day and age of streaming, for example, Fury vs. Wilder 3 is rumored to have done 600,000 pay-per-view buys here in the States. You know, so this pay-per-view right here, especially since it's going up against UFC 268, which has a huge card, it's really hard to see this fight not getting streamed to smithereens. So I'm predicting 350,000 pay-per-view buys or so. I don't think it's going to crack 400. I would be shocked if it does. You know, that's, to me, that's a huge number in this day and age. But also,
There they are, ladies and gentlemen. Premier Boxing Champions.
You have to factor in that Canelo is supposed to be guaranteed $40 million and Caleb Plant $10 million. Over in the UK, it's going to be on BT Sport Boxing pay-per-view at $20, also at the same time as UFC. And I don't believe UFC is on pay-per-view over there. Also, one thing we've learned is do not say motherfucker around Canelo. He gets it all confused. He really thinks that you're talking about his mom. Like that you want to, you know, do horrible things to his mom. Don't bring it up. He don't understand it. So this is apparently what this whole scuffle was. He was like, what? Don't say motherfucker. Don't talk about my mom. You know? But Caleb Plant's in a training camp. Obviously. That cut has healed up. And yeah, the undercard though, Let's go look at that really quick. Now, tell me what your thoughts are. Now here's the thing. I never expected, especially when you have a high profile event like this where a guy's guaranteed $40 million. I didn't expect for the undercard to be good, so I'm not going to really bitch and complain too much. But the chief support is going to be Anthony Durrell versus a Marcos Hernandez. Ray Vargas versus a Leonardo Diaz. And then Elvis Rodriguez versus Juan Pablo Romero opens up the pay-per-view portion. I've been trying to look for any type of information on what the pay-per-view is going to cost. I can only assume that it's going to be what? I'm going to say what? $79.99. It's Canelo, and they got to recoup that money. I'm not. I don't see $74.99 because if Fury versus Wilder 3 was $79.99, I'm guessing they're going to make this, $79.99 too. Nonetheless, I'm going to be covering it. If you don't know, Canelo's going for being the first Mexican and 168-pound champion, undisputed of the 4-belt era: WBC, WBA Super, IBF, and WBO. And then the winner is going to have to fight the winner of David Benavidez versus Jose Uzcategui, because there's no other way to go. Remember, a unification trumps mandatories, but in this case, this is undisputed. So, now the only thing to do is start knocking off, your mandatories. So I really want to see Canelo versus David Benavidez. In fact, let's go to that clip right now of David Benavidez talking about the fight. He did a media call yesterday with Jose Uzcategui, and basically he's expecting to be the mandatory. And I'm guessing in a perfect world, we could see Canelo versus David Benavidez Cinco de Mayo 2022. They can do that in some type of stadium here, right? I really, really like that fight. Take your time out, like the video, subscribe. I'm T Street Controversy with FightView360.com.
Yes, my first question is for David. David, glad you're doing better, obviously. I was wondering, Brian Custer had Canelo on his podcast, and they have like a rapid fire question and answer session at the end. And he said, Charlo or Benavidez. He very quickly responded, Charlo. So my question to you is, you win this fight against Uzcategui the week after, assuming Canelo beats plan as you think he will. Do you think that Canelo will fight you next, or that he will go in a different direction?
I mean, I don't see why he would go in a different direction. I feel like a lot of people are putting pressure already. I feel like this is right here, this fight for the WBC and IBF title eliminator. The winner of this fight has to fight Canelo, definitely. It's because it's not only because what the people want to see, it's because we earned the right. This is my second title eliminator. My last one was with Ronald Ellis. So, I mean, if you fight 2 back-to-back title eliminators, I feel like they have to give you the opportunity no matter what they wanted to do. I feel like if he does have different things he wants to do, I feel like, like the WBC, when I win this fight again, it's the second title eliminator. So, they can't, just skip me like that. But, sometimes things happen and, you don't know what, I mean, there's really nothing much you can do with it. But, I mean, I'm going to be ready. My main objective is fighting, winning the fights, and that's what it is.
So maybe just to clarify, David, maybe you're more certain that you're going to fight for the WBC title next, though maybe not against Canelo?
I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. If it's the WBC title eliminator and IBF title eliminator, so the winners of Caleb Plant, Canelo Álvarez, they both have those belts. So whoever else is holding those belts, that's who we have the right to fight. That's why they have title eliminators.
Great. Thank you, David. I just have one question for Jose.
Now, here's the thing. Looking at the rankings here, as we said, Canelo, WBC, WBA, WBO, Ring Magazine, Caleb Plant, the IBF. If the WBC decided to make Canelo the franchise champion, Canelo would still have to fulfill that IBF mandatory or drop the belt. And would he drop the belt to fight Charlo? Because he would have to still pay David Benavidez, if he wins against Jose Uzcategui, which I'm predicting, to have pay step-aside money to, and fight on the undercard of Canelo versus Charlo in May. And also, now that Charlo's name's been mentioned, Canelo's not moving down to 160 pounds for him. Charlo's going to have to move up. And who is Charlo going to fight in the meantime? Charlo's going to just wait all the way out until May, because I think it's safe to assume that Canelo really wants to get back on schedule and really wants to be fighting, you know, in May and September and possibly December. That's the schedule, from my understanding, that he really, really wants. And 168 pounds, it's really not between 160, honestly, and 168, ain't really nothing there. You know, I mean, it's not a lot there for Canelo to really, really feast off and really make like super, like there's no super fights. You know, I mean, and it's a shame, but realistically, still the biggest money fight between 160 and 168, and he would have to move to 168 too, is still Canelo versus Golovkin 3. Canelo versus Charlo, or Canelo versus Benavidez, or Canelo versus David Morrell don't bring in more money or won't than Canelo versus Golovkin. I'm sorry. Maybe that's just my opinion, you know? So if you think about it, Canelo options for the next couple of years at 168, you know, they're there, but I'm talking about high profile fights, or what fans would consider high profile, is those guys I mentioned. David Benavidez. Who else at 168? What, another Danny Jacobs fight? You know, ill, you know? No disrespect to Danny Jacobs, but he's also flirting with 175. Like, who sticks out to you at 168? You know, so you got to start looking at 160 guys. You know, Jamal Charlo, Murata if he beats Golovkin, or Golovkin if he beats Murata, moves to 168 fight team. Andre, we may want that fight, but Andre's got to move to 168, and already Canelo called him a motherfucker and told him to get the fuck out of here. He no sell nothing. And he's fighting Jason Quigley. You look at 175 guys, yeah, you know, there's the option of Bertabiev. You know, Dmitry Bivol. Bivol's already said he will come down to 168. And that's pretty much the guys right there. That's it. But I'm really interested in All Access. As I said, it's going to be on this weekend. This Friday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Set your DVRs. And I'm guessing the next episode is going to be that next Friday. And then we're going to have one the week before, the week of the fight, likely on the YouTube page. Showtime, All Access Daily. But let me pull this up really quickly, because turns out if you go look at the Showtime Sports page, Canelo's having a media workout tomorrow, which we will be here live streaming. It's lit. I'm History Controversy with FightView360.com. Please take your time out, like the video, subscribe. Also, imagine if Eddie Reynoso actually gets Anthony Joshua in his camp too. I don't understand like how Eddie Reynoso would be able to dedicate the time to all these guys. But nonetheless, take your time out, like the video, subscribe. Down below in the description box, I put a link to three links to the WBC app powered by the Vive network. You have one for Android, Roku, and Apple. See you guys later.